guys, and welcome back to my channel. Oh, you're wobbling. I'm making you wobble. I'm making my hands down. Anyways, my name is Whitney. Welcome to my channel. Today in this video, I am filming my birth story of how I had my daughter in January. This is actually the first video I filmed not pregnant. I had like all these videos piled up that I've been uploading every week, and I'm finally filming one. I'm not pregnant anymore. Yay. Anyways, ignore my appearance. I just got home. I've been running errands all day. My appearance is just gonna look like this for like all my videos. I probably will not have my daughter in this video. She's currently in her swing in the other room. You might be able to hear the music. But she's taking a nap. She was kind of grouchy, so she's taking a nap. Kind of fussy. Anyways, let's just get right on into my birth story. I will say there's nothing really crazy about it. This is just my story, and this is just what happened. Please, some positive thoughts for this. I might leave out some details, but I'll try my best not to. And I don't know exact time frames. I can't really remember. Like I said, I had her in January, and this is like almost April, so I'm already like forgetting some stuff. But I did have my daughter on January 31st, the last day of the month, and she weighed 8 pounds and 12 ounces. She was a big baby. I had a C-section. So we're gonna start from the very beginning. I might talk about a little bit after birth, like my C-section recovery, how that was, but we're gonna start from the very beginning. So around when I was like 38 weeks pregnant, 37, 38, I was having contractions quite a bit, and you know, I had cramping. Like I just had every sign pretty much. My water never broke or anything, but I was having contractions. And by the way, this is my first baby, if you're wondering, if you didn't know. And I actually went into triage late one night to get checked out because I was having contractions. And they seemed pretty close together. Like my mom was timing them. They were like 10 minutes apart, and they went to 5 minutes apart, and they weren't super severe or anything, but I could definitely tell I was having them. So we went into triage, and they got me all checked in, put me on the monitors, and checked me for a couple hours. And they came back to tell me I was having contractions 5 minutes apart, but they weren't strong enough to do anything. They checked me. By the way, this video will probably be TMI. If you don't like TMI, then don't watch birth videos. So they checked me, and I was only dilated to like a 2 or something, and they just said my contractions weren't strong enough to do any kind of like laboring or anything. So they basically sent me home late at night. So I went home. That was kind of a bummer, and then I was ready to have her at that point. So then, you know, another week goes by. I was still having contractions. Oh my gosh, my camera is shaky. I'm sorry. And then we get to almost 39 weeks, and my doctor decided to schedule me an induction for 39 weeks because my daughter was measuring really large, which I think I talked about in one of my updates. She was measuring way ahead, and he thought she was going to be really, really big, so he wanted to go ahead and induce me at 39 weeks. So when I was 39 weeks pregnant, which I believe was January 28th or 29th or something, 28th, something like that, they told me to come in at 5 in the morning, and they were going to induce me. So they were going to give me Pitocin. They were going to do all these different things to try to put me in labor. So I go in early in the morning. They get me all set up on everything. They start my Pitocin, and I was pretty much on Pitocin all day long. They would come in every hour and increase the Pitocin, but my contractions were not changing at all. Like literally not even changing. And I was there for hours and hours on Pitocin, and nothing was happening. I wasn't dilating. My contractions were not picking up where I needed any pain medicine, which was like what they wanted, obviously. It was like heavy contractions. My body was just not reacting, not doing anything to the Pitocin. So that night, baby's crying. So if you're wondering why the rest of this video I look different, it's because it's a different day. So when Marley was crying and I went to get her, I came back and I filmed the rest of the video. Well, this was supposed to go up last week. Well, I went on, I think it was Sunday night, to edit the video, and for some reason the second half of the video, that file was like corrupted or something, and it wouldn't let me upload it at all or edit it or do anything with it. So now I am refilming the second half of this video. I don't even know where I left off. I can't even remember. I think I left off where I went in for my scheduled induction and they started me on Pitocin. I think that was the last thing we talked about. So I think I'm just gonna pick up right there. If you guys hear the TV in the background, Marley is watching TV. Yes, sue me, she's watching TV. She likes it. She likes the colors. Like, don't even worry about it. Okay. So I got the Pitocin and they were planning on upping it like every so hour. I think I said this, every so often, every few hours. My body wasn't reacting to the Pitocin. I think I said that. Nothing was happening, nothing was changing. Basically they said, we're gonna stop the Pitocin. Your body's not reacting to it. Your body is not doing anything to the Pitocin. So we're gonna stop it. We're gonna let you eat a dinner, a nice dinner, and then we will probably try like Cervidil or something like that. Some kind of thing to work in your cervix to get it to dilate and stuff like that. So I had my dinner. It's time for them to do the Cervidil. Now, I think I've said this before and it's TMI, but I have severe pain when I get checked down there. I might have even mentioned that at the beginning of this video, but it's like severe pain, like it's not normal at all. And they checked me and it was awful, and they wanted to put the Cervidil up there and they didn't know if they could. I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't even know what I mentioned. I'm sorry, but for the longest time my doctor had been saying I was gonna have a C-section pretty much since I was like 30 something weeks, when he started checking me. He said my pelvic bone was the flattest pelvic bone he has ever seen in his life, and that he could never see a baby ever fitting through there, ever. Like, not possible for a baby to fit through there because my pelvic bone is so low and flat. So we kind of got to thinking, and my doctor had already told me there was like a 98% chance I was gonna have a C-section because of that. He said they would let me labor and try to have her vaginally, but they were pretty confident she was gonna get stuck and it was gonna go straight into emergency C-section no matter what. Like, he said he's never been so confident. Like, even all the nurses and the other doctors that had checked me before down there said the same exact thing. Like, it wasn't just my doctor, it was nurses, it was like the triage doctor I saw even said that. Like, everyone said that. So I was pretty much sure I was gonna have a C-section anyway, and I hated getting checked down there because it was the most excruciating pain. They didn't even know if the Cervidil was even gonna work. I could have had it in for 7 hours and then they would put me back on the Pitocin, and then it all could have just not even worked at all. So they basically said, what do you want to do? Like, do you want the Cervidil or not? And at that point, I was pretty confident I was having a C-section anyways. And so I just said, can we just schedule a C-section? I don't want to go through this. I don't want to go through all of this pain, all of this trouble, all of these long hours of labor just for it to not even work, when literally every doctor I've ever seen, every doctor that's checked me down there, every nurse, literally even my previous doctor, because I switched doctors in the middle of my pregnancy, even said the same thing. Every single person is confident that I cannot deliver vaginally because of the structure of my bones. Now, I was a premature baby. I was born, I want to say 2 or 3 months early. I think almost 3 months early. I weighed 3 pounds. I think 3 pounds, I don't know how many ounces when I was born. I was barely 3 pounds. And, you know, I had heart problems. I had all these different problems because I was premature. And they contribute my bone structure being off in that way because I was premature and it maybe wasn't fully developed. Obviously nothing was fully developed all the way probably when I was born. I kind of talked to my mom, I talked to my husband, I thought about it. At this point, like I said, I was 39 weeks and I already had a big baby. She was measuring like 9 pounds or something. And so I said, can we just have a C-section? A planned C-section where it's not rushed, it's not an emergency. I don't have to go through labor for hours and hours and hours for it to not even work and for her head to get stuck and something serious could happen. Because with my pelvic bone being that low and her head could get lodged and stuck, it could have been really dangerous for her and for me. And for her head to get stuck like in that tight of a spot, it would have been extremely dangerous for her. So I didn't want to risk any of that. I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want any problems or anything bad to happen to her or me. I just thought it was going to be the safest route to have a C-section. Can you hear her? She was just giggling. So I told them, can we just call the doctor and see if I can just have a C-section? So they called my doctor and he said, yeah. He said, I think that's what's best for you anyway. So I actually went home. They took me out, you know, my IV's out. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, I cannot talk. And me and my husband went home for the night. We got a good night's rest. We literally just lounged around and did nothing the entire day that Thursday. Literally, we just relaxed. We were lazy. We just did nothing. And Friday, I had to be there, I think at 5 in the morning to get started with getting prepped for the C-section. So now we're going to get into that part of the story. So I went in really early, did all the paperwork, and I answered all the questions. They hooked me up to my IV. I'm really a hard stick. They have to get like a vein finder, almost like an ultrasound to get my veins, which is really frustrating. I have to be poked like 5 times. So frustrating, but they got my IV set up, you know, got me all dressed, got me all ready, got me all prepped for my C-section. I want to do a whole video on all about recovering from a C-section and tips and more of my experience, I guess, recovering. I want to do that in the future, maybe to help anyone out who's going to have a C-section. I have never had surgery before. That was my first surgery, and they wheeled me back there in a tiny room. I've never been in a surgery room, and they put me on this tiny bed, tiny bed, and I had to get the spinal, which is kind of like an epidural, but it doesn't stay in your back. It's just like a needle and they inject it. I had to do it, but it's basically the same procedure as an epidural. They actually gave me multiple doses of it because I wasn't getting numb very fast, so they kept giving me more until I was numb. And then they laid me down, got everything situated, and you know, they put the drape in front of you, you're wide awake, and they started on the C-section. Now, I was so shaky, I couldn't even believe it. Like, my whole body was just like this. Like, my arms, my mouth, like everything was chattery and shaky. I could not stop shaking. I was shaking severely. And you know, they just said that's part of the anesthesia that can happen. My husband came in, he was so scared. You should have seen the look on his face. He was so terrified. He's never had surgery, I've never had surgery. Of course, not even a surgery that I could be awake for, like that's crazy. And so my husband came in, they had started, you know, already cutting on me. I couldn't feel anything, obviously. Everything went really good. The C-section itself went really smooth. I was just shaking the entire time. Like I was so shaky. And she was born, I believe, at 8:03 or 8:05 in the morning. I'm sorry, I should know that off the top of my head. And they showed her to us, and she was beautiful. And they asked if I wanted to hold her, like kind of on my chest. And I'm on this tiny bed with my arms out like this, and I was shaking, like uncontrollably shaking, and I just did not feel safe holding her right then. So I just let my husband hold her the whole time, because I was just uncontrollably shaking. So when we went to the recovery room, I got to hold her, and everything was good. We had some visitors. Everything was good until later that night when the pain, you know, the numbing stuff wore off. I had to walk for the first time. It was excruciating pain. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was excruciating. I cried like a baby because of the pain of walking after a C-section and going to the bathroom, and I pretty much felt helpless. Like everyone had to do everything for me. But I can do a whole other video on the actual recovery part. It was rough. C-sections are not fun. I would not wish them on anyone. It was extremely hard, and there was about 2 full weeks where I was down and hurting. Finally, after 2 weeks, I felt a lot better. So there definitely is light at the end of the tunnel. If you just get through those 2 weeks, it's a lot better. But yeah, that's pretty much my birth story. That's how my daughter Marley got here. She's beautiful. She's 2 months old now, and we love her. She's a doll. She's already almost like 11 pounds or something. She's really big. And yeah, so everything went really smooth though. I don't really have any complaints. Nothing bad happened. I didn't almost die or anything. It was excruciating pain afterwards, but once it was all over, and now, you know, I'm 2 months postpartum and I feel pretty good. So yeah, that's all for my birth story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.